The relationship you have with meeting your own needs is going to show you this one key thing. And that one key thing is a reflection about how you actually value yourself. And it took me quite some time to understand this to the depths and the levels in which we meet our own needs. And it is a reflection of how much you value yourself and how much worth that you have or that you perceive that you have in this world. And this is where we're actually giving ourselves or obstructing ourselves or sacrificing things in our life because we feel like we shouldn't, couldn't, or we don't deserve it. And we create some resistance. So, the reason why it's so important to understand this relationship about how you meet your needs is because there are some really basic things that we have to have as humans. And then there are some things that we really want to have as humans. And then we have desires. So there's this pyramid of needs that we need to have met. And for the most part, we meet our basic needs. We can put a roof over our heads. We can make sure that we have food, shelter, water, and then we can figure out our resources. And then there's this next level that comes in with how we treat ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, how we have relationships in society, how we give to ourselves, or do we put demands on ourselves and we tell ourselves that we have to do certain things in order to deserve getting little luxury items or luxury experiences, or just having something a little bit above and beyond a necessity. Now, of course, everything is in context, right? Life will give us lots of different varieties to experience, and sometimes we might be in a little bit more of a reserved state of mind where we're trying to make sure our resources are well used and utilized and not go over. And then there are some times, some seasons in life where we can be a little bit more expansive with how we spend or expansive in our resources. But the idea is the relationship that we have meeting our needs will let us see into key insights why relationships may or may not be working, relationships with ourselves, relationships with others, relationships with work, relationships with money. How are we opening up ourselves to receive and allow abundance to come in? Or how do we push it away? And we don't have to spend a lot of money to meet needs that go into wants and desires. It's a mindset that we have about how we give ourselves the pleasures in life or how we try and push them away because we're waiting for something to happen or we're trying to put these parameters and restrictions on us that we have to do X, Y, and Z or jump through certain hoops so that we allow ourselves to have that. And so by doing that, by putting ourselves into this really conditioned place, we're allowing ourselves to be restricted from things that need to come in. We can't see them come in. We push them away without even realizing it. I'll give you an example, I'll give you a story. I had some tickets to go to Disney, and I wanted to offer those tickets to my family. I had an uncle who I really wanted to go, and he could only go for a few hours because he had some other obligations. And so he pushed the ticket away. And I had to explain to him that his time was as valuable, even if he could only spend a few hours with us that day, that it would be worthwhile for him to take the ticket and to have the experience than for me to give someone else the ticket that I couldn't have that same experience with because it was a family event. I had to explain the value that a paper ticket was worth his time. And so by me having to explain that to him, he ended up going. We had a great time, but a really great time. And we were never able to do that again. So I'm really glad that he was able to understand what I was saying. But sometimes we do this. We have these moments where we push things away because we feel like we haven't earned them yet. We don't deserve them yet. You hear the yet? We think that we have to cross over barriers. And then we want to manifest these really big things in our life. We have these big goals, these big dreams, these big desires. And yet we won't let ourselves enjoy the little moments in life. And some of the most cherished moments really had nothing to do with how much I spent on the evening. It was more about how I envisioned it, how I felt inside, how I set up little things that had meaning, how I really just enjoyed the moment and was really in the moment with it that made it most that made those experiences the most precious experiences. So when we think about how we want to let abundance into our life as we're looking into this next phase, how are we meeting our own needs to make sure that we're always giving ourselves the parenting, the nurturing, the constructive criticism, the things that we need for ourselves so that when others are giving it back to us, we can recognize those that are supposed to be in our life, those that are giving us that same kind of symbiotic relationship and meeting our needs, meeting our desires, as well as being able to reciprocate. Who in our life isn't showing up the way that we would show up for ourselves? And it starts to become a really clear indicator. When we're able to address our needs, when we're able to make sure that we know how to take care of ourselves and say, it's time to go to bed, even though I want to watch this last episode and it's time because I want to go and get up early in the morning to do the things that I need to do, or those little things where we just have to take care of ourselves and know it's for the better good of what we want to reach. We're going to see how other people treat themselves, and we're going to start to see the reflections in others and who we really want in our lives and who should be in our lives, who will help support us, who's the right kind of people that we want to have, who are the kind of people we want to be, how do we want to grow and help nurture ourselves, because it's within our own control and our own power to give ourselves what we need or to go find the resources to help us get what we need. But we have to know what we need. We have to know what we lack in support so that we can go get it. We need to know where we need support. We need to know what would just bring us joy and happiness and pleasure so that we can find that every moment in life feels lived, feels excited, feels like it's an accomplishment, that you're living it to the fullest that you possibly can. So take a look and see how your needs are being met. How are you meeting your needs? How much do you trust yourself? And a lot of this also goes into the idea of self-concept, self-belief. Do you trust yourself to give you what you need? Can you trust yourself to do some of the bigger things in life? I have a program that's out. It is called Limitless, and it helps open up and break through these sorts of like small limiting ideas and beliefs that we have about ourselves that we don't even realize that are going on within us. And so we want to really just shift the frame, relook at how we can just start being everything that we want to be if we just know how to shift that mindset. And then those thoughts and those emotions that get melded together go in the right direction. It's a great time to really evaluate how are your needs being met and what needs haven't been met, and how can you go about giving yourself what it is that you need and being honest with yourself that maybe you do need to do some new things that are more beneficial in your life, in whatever area in your life that is, health, wealth, finance, and see how you can reduce or even eliminate the idea of restriction. I don't even like to say the word diet. I like to call it a nutrition plan because I'm wanting to look at the nutrients and the nutritious things that are going to help my body. And I'm not really interested in cutting anything out. Everything is needed. It's just a matter of quantity and how much. Even sugar is needed in the body. So deciding on where and when that happens is much more enjoyable and a much more enjoyable life than thinking I always have to be on some sort of fanciful diet that's never going to work. So we want to think about how can we shift our minds, and so that we're always looking at how do we get what we need? How do we help give ourselves the little pleasures in life without being restricted? Discipline is a different type of term. I think it's a great term to use. I love discipline. I think that to be disciplined is the idea of being consistent. So look at the relationship you have with how you meet your needs and where can you add a little bit more, reduce a little less, and be as efficient as possible so that you're cultivating a better relationship with yourself and you're really magnetizing in the people, the experiences, the life that just makes it a little bit sweeter. Thank you all for being here. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.